faulty element of taqwa becomes the decisive factor in their life. For instance, Hazrat Umar Radhiyallahu Ta'ala, how did he accept Islam? If he had no taqwa in him, he would have remained committedly hostile to Muhammad and his message. But to begin with, his taqwa was not enough to lead him to the truth. But a struggle had begun. When the prophets come, that struggle begins in every heart who comes in contact with the message. To begin with, it's not possible for people having a very small measure of taqwa to be guided to the truth. But a struggle begins, and within that, with their own selves, they are fighting a battle, inside, which is not visible to us from outside. But Allah knows. So ultimately, their taqwa becomes ghalib, that is predominant, and only then they are guided. So that condition remains valid. This is why Hazrat Masih Maud has described this process in that, in that manner that it will become, if you have sadhat, that is the same taqwa is referring to. He doesn't say you will immediately accept the truth. He says, jiski fitrat नेक है, आएगा वो अंजाम कार. That means he'll end up ultimately. So taqwa would win, of course. But to begin with, if taqwa is small and overwhelmed by lack of taqwa, then it will take its time to develop and to ultimately overwhelm and flourish.
Thank you.
There are two verses relating the subject which...
You go to the microphone and let's share, all of us together.
There are two verses of the Holy Quran relating the subject which Huzur has mentioned. The first is about the earlier stage of taqwa, which is fattakullaha mastatatum. And the second is ittakullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun.
Mastatatum, translation bhi dekha dena iski.
The first verse is that you should do taqwa.
You should exercise taqwa.
You should exercise taqwa
according to your capacity.
Yeah.
That means
yes,
that taqwa is not of the same capacity.
Yes.
Every man has a taqwa of different capacity.
Yes.
Once you begin to do that, then do not die until you have become real muttaqeen.
Yes.
That is the second verse. Yes, please.
I got a big question.
So will you kindly introduce yourself first?
I'm Sri Mohan from Sri Lanka.
From Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Mohan.
And so you are a Tamil-speaking person?
I speak Tamil.
You're Tamil, yeah, not a Sinhalese?
I'm a Sinhalese.
No, right, yes.
I got a big question. I was born Hindu family.
Of course I know that, no, yes.
And at the moment I don't normally believe in a religion.
Right.
I believe that there is a God. I want to see Him. And I do go to church.
You believe that there is a God?
There's a God.
That's very good. And you don't believe that there are two gods or three gods?
No, I don't believe that.
You believe in one God?
Yeah.
So we have that common platform to begin with.
That's right.
Yes, very good.
I do go to churches and temples, mosques.
Yes.
One of my friends, Sabriya, he has introduced with me some other books, Muslim books and Quran.
He is your friend?
Sabriya.
Are you the one who wrote to me about your friend? Only the other day, yesterday, I received the letter in which you mentioned that you are going to bring a friend of yours from Sri Lanka, who's a Hindu, but who is a very, right-minded person and righteous type of person. He is the man. Thank you for bringing. All right. Yes.
Thanks a lot. I would like to know, as we all were created in the world, earth, as a human being, and at the moment we are having lots of religions and lots of parties, and they all are saying that this is the only way to approach God.
Correct.
But I think that's the only way to approach God is being honest and love God. I don't know God, who my God is still now. I would like to know, why did the religion come into this world and discriminate all people? That's the first question, actually.
So if any religion has a correct approach to this problem. I'm posing you a counter question. If you come across a religion whose approach to this general problem is very sensible and acceptable to your nature, won't you be ready to agree with that religion which agrees with you?
I will.
You will.
Yeah.
So Islam is just that religion.
But I don't know much about.
I'll explain. The Holy Quran says, and Hafiz Sahib is going to take up from there and start reciting the verse which I have in mind and which I'm going to tell him. The Holy Quran says, without the mention of any religion, Man amana billahi. But before that it says that from among the Jews and Christians and Sabi'in, that is other religions, whoever has faith in Allah and does good deeds, such people will have no fear, nor ever any grief shall come upon them. No, not only has Allah declared here, the Holy Quran itself, that there is no monopolization of truth. To claim that only people following Islam would be ultimately forgiven by Allah and the rest would positively be declared as fit fodder for hell, this view has been totally rejected here in this verse. On the other hand, having done so, that this verse goes on to explain in detail that people of the Jews, from the Christians, with whom the Holy Quran has already picked up a battle, a great battle. Even people among those, among such religions who have the right-mindedness, who have a true faith in God and do good deeds, they should not have any fears. They should not accept any grief to come upon them. So is that not a correct approach?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Don't you think so?
I don't understand. But it's the same thing. Others are also
No,
saying.
I'll come to that later. There are so many stages yet to be discussed. But first, give me your opinion on this issue. So far, whatever has been said, do you not agree with it in totality?
I do agree that.
Very good.
Said. But
So, in that much you have become a Muslim already. Yes, naturally.
I want to be Muslim.
In that much, yes, yes.
I want to be
Agree,
Muslim.
yes. Now, secondly, the Holy Quran's philosophy should be further understood. Otherwise, you will not understand this interrelationship of religion with religions and this mutual fight. If Islam had made only this statement, this simple statement, and ended up the matter there, then there should not have been any ensuing struggle between Islam and other religions. This declaration seems to tell everybody that whatever your religion be, you shouldn't be afraid. You're all right as long as you believe in God and as long as you do good deeds. But that is not all that Islam says. There are other aspects which are also brought to the limelight. Yes, you have to ask a question
Yeah.
which comes repeatedly to you. So why not have done with it so that later on I'll answer you in view of that question which is agitating you.
Okay. So if you all believe in God, did God say to people that Islam or any name, did he put a name for us to approach God?
I'm coming to that. The second declaration, which stands on the other extreme, is this: Inna Deena Indallahi al-Islam. Verily, the faith for the people, for the mankind, is Islam. And a few verses afterwards, it further declares that وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. And whoever accepts any faith other than Islam, or presents as his faith any faith other than Islam, he would not be accepted, his faith would not be accepted and it would be rejected outright by Allah. So there are two extremes to the same question which have been tackled by the Holy Quran. On the one hand, you find this